I've hit a level of mastery, but I mean, that mastery can still improve. Whereas if I look at start doing multifamily or something, which I might in the future, but whenever that time comes, I'm probably going to be done with single family, right? Something like that. But I can't take the time away from what I'm doing to put into something else, because I'm going to go from doing something at a level of mastery to doing something as a level of beginner. There's no way I'm going to be successful at it, as successful.
From cornfields to high-rises, office to industrial, houses to hotels, and every other asset class in real estate, we cover the people, the projects, and the profit. Welcome to the Investing in Iowa show. This show is for go-doers, action takers, and business owners. It's for people like you who are sick of Uncle Sam taking a huge bite of your apple. If you're looking to get ahead of what's taking place in Iowa, learn who is doing what, and how you can get in on the action, you're in the right place. Hosted by Neil Timmins, an Iowa native who has been involved in over $300 million in real estate right here in Iowa. Recording in studio from West Des Moines. Here's your host, Neil Timmins.
I've got Mark Lane here on the show. Mark, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm excited you're back. Say, for the audience's sake, remind them, who are you, where are you from, what do you do?
Yeah, Mark Lane, I'm an investor from Des Moines, Iowa. Been here, grew up here, raised here. Been doing this for 15 years. And then I have two daughters. One of them works for me. She's 26, 27. She's married. Have another daughter that's 18, and she's going to be joining the business here really soon.
All right, you're an investor. More specifically, what do you do?
So I specialize in single family houses. I would say I do a combination of wholesaling, maybe some light rehabs, and a kind of higher end single family rentals.
15 years in this business. How has your business changed? Take me back to the first, 1 to 5 years. Is anything materially different?
Yeah. I would say in the beginning, so, didn't know anything. Started out trying to wholesale, right? Went to the seminars, went through education, all that stuff. Went out trying to wholesale, wasn't successful. Of course, this was 2010. It was hard to wholesale. Didn't have a buyer's list, didn't have any of those foundational pieces. So found myself a combination. Actually, the first 4 deals, my partner and I at the time had a partner for the first year. First 4 deals we did ended up being single family rentals. We launched a bunch of offers, got a bunch accepted, had to figure out some and then let the other ones go. And the ones we figured out, we ended up, buying, rehabbing, and then of course we couldn't sell them. So we figured out how to refinance them. We kept them. So the first year, was just action. And we were just, it's just as much action as I could put into the market. And then we found ourselves being landlords when that was probably not the right place for us at the time. After the first year, then I got really heavy into more of the fixing and flipping and stayed pretty heavy with that for several years, which was great. It taught me a ton about construction, design, all those elements that I feel like really helped me now. But then as I've progressed, now I'm mostly focused on, I'd say the biggest piece of our business is wholesaling. We wholesale probably 80% of our deals, I would say 75%.
What has you lean towards that versus fixing and flipping today?
With the wholesaling, one, we can just be a far leaner business, much leaner team. It's just my assistant, myself, especially up until this very recent change in the market, our wholesale averages were 25,000, whereas historically over the last 15 years, our flip profits probably haven't averaged much more than that.
Right.
So once we got to a place where, we're putting so much effort, and we still have it happen, putting so much effort into the fixing and flipping only to have a $20,000 profit when it's done, 25,000, whatever it might be. Whereas, again, over the years, I found that there was a lot of people that buy higher than I buy. Once I found that and realized that, again, historically, I would say, at least what I see now over the last few years, people on average buy about $30,000 higher than I do. That's not a retail buyer. That's an investor buyer. Whether I go to the auction, I might have my sheet, my max allowable offer. Here's what I'd pay for it. Next thing you know, somebody's bidding 30, very consistently. So as I started to realize that, I say, man, I can have an hour into most of these deals and make 20, 25,000, sometimes much more, sometimes a little bit less. But I can have a good portion of my business revenue coming from the wholesaling side that I really don't have that much time or effort into. And then ideally, if we get one that's a really good, nice big flip where we might make 50, 60,000 on it, it's kind of a lipstick type deal, we'll take advantage of that. Yeah. And then, of course, the nice single family rentals that we want to own for a long term for some tax benefits, appreciation, then we hold those.
I think people think that if you're a single family investor, that you may just fix and flip, or you may do all these things. And when in fact, the business of wholesaling versus the business of fixing and flipping are two totally different businesses. Different business models, different everything. The business of wholesaling is you got to be really good at getting the phone to ring. Yeah. Doesn't necessarily mean a lot, but it does mean from the right people. Mm-hmm. You got to be good at sitting in a living room, belly to belly, having a real conversation, and ultimately solving a problem.
And I talk to so many people that have significant businesses throughout the country, friends in other markets, and they don't want to do that part. Like, that's a big thing. They end up hiring salespeople. Their businesses are relatively, small margins because they're hiring salespeople to go do that. They don't want to do that part. I always look at it like, that's the gold right there. That's like securing that good, solid deal. And not to mention like building the brand, like all that kind of stuff. That's part of just those conversations and being able to buy. And, when I had a salesperson on staff for a while, several years ago, and he did pretty good, especially for the fact that he didn't really know anything about real estate, but he had history of being a minister, very easygoing, loving type of person. He was just really friendly, loved people, so he was able to connect really well with people. And so he bought pretty well, but still just didn't have that experience and that mastery of it that I did, as far as hitting the same closing ratios and stuff. So I think when people don't have the willingness to do that part of it, they're missing out on a huge piece.
It's the, sales when done right. It's the highest dollar compensation per hour that is in any profession.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Some sort of athlete, any profession. Certainly way higher than what an attorney's going to make per hour. Yeah. Just closing a deal like this.
Yeah. I think I figured my average hourly pay at about 800 and something, so yeah. Yeah.
First is you go on the other side, the construction, right? You're going to remodel a property. You're running a construction team, you're running crews, right? And if you're outsourcing to a general contractor, you got to manage them. You think it's just as easy as outsourcing, or some people think it's easy. I'll just get a GC and they'll just do it. Well, maybe depends who they are.
Anybody in there, you're going to lose a huge piece of the profit from the GC.
Yeah.
Huge piece.
Yeah.
Half of it.
Yeah. Versus it's got to get managed tight, and it's got to get done to a standard that makes sense for the home in the neighborhood that it happens to be in, right? Not necessarily the way you do it in your own house, which is where I see a lot of people go wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. The flipping side, I think that the people think that that's where you build the value. And to a certain degree it is, but the value is all in the buy. Like that's where the value is. Right. So when I look at it, the rehab is really just to get it completed so that it's finally sale ready. But all the value is in the initial purchase. And so I finally realized and understood that. And I'm like, okay, well, if all the value is in the buying, I just need to buy more houses and then let them go. Let somebody else buy them, do all the rehab. But if I can buy more houses, spend less time into the deal, and still have a good amount of value in there, I'm going to make a lot more money.
Plus, you're going to make more money on the per deal basis. You're also going to make more money total. What I mean by that is you leverage your time to be able to go do what it is that you do best.
Right.
Yeah. I know some people are going to go, all right, this sounds fantastic. This sounds great. This sounds super easy. But I want to hit them with a dose of reality. It's not quite that easy. Give me, if you don't mind sharing, give me an average monthly budget of marketing dollars that it takes to make the business.
We currently spend, what are we spending? We're a little bit over 20,000. Yeah. I'd say just marketing, not counting salaries, just marketing. I'd say about 22,000 right now. And we have an exceptionally high closing ratio. So if I didn't close so well, let's just say if somebody's starting out and they're going to try to get the amount of, let's say, the gross revenue that we do, they're probably going to be spending double that realistically.
Because the salesperson makes a huge difference in that world. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that for most people starting out, they don't have that budget to spend, so, and when you start to look at what the average person is going to be comfortable with spending. I would say, what's the average person going to be comfortable spending? Maybe up to $3,000 a month, maybe, and the cost to acquire a deal right now in the world of marketing for this business is about $3,000. So you might be lucky to get about one deal if you're going to spend that much.
Hey, Iowa investors, this is Ava Baukamp, Chief of Staff at Legacy Impact Investors. Have you thought about adding real estate to your portfolio but don't have the time or desire to play landlord? At Legacy Impact Investors, we do the heavy lifting. Our team finds the deals, manages the properties, and handles all the day-to-day operations. Our select group of qualified investors co-invest with us, gaining ownership equity without opening a tenant email or responding to a maintenance call. They just share in the income, appreciation, and tax benefits. These opportunities aren't for everyone. They are for qualified, accredited investors only. If you want to learn more, please visit legacyimpactinvestors.com to apply.
So you keep high-end rentals. Give me an idea maybe a real example.
Yeah.
When you say high-end rental, what does that mean?
Yeah. So we have one not terribly far from here over on 20th and Woodland, West Des Moines. That one should have an ARV of probably about 420. So we bought that one for about a touch higher than what I would have liked to, but it was a great house. So bought that at 257, I think, something like that. Took out a loan for my insurance, life insurance, paid that down, then got a hard money loan, and then we're self-funding all the rehab. And we'll probably put 60 to 70,000 into it. So so we'll be all in for about 320, 325, and it should appraise for about 420, 425. So I'm going to, I'll refinance it, get the hard money lender paid off, and I'll probably because I think he financed his side for 225, 230, something like that. The numbers will make sense for me to have a mortgage of about 225 current rates. So I'll have to pay it down still just a touch more. Essentially all the rehab and stuff is out of pocket.
Okay. That makes sense. Do you do self-manage?
Yes, 100%.
What platform, what tools are you using to manage?
I believe we use Yardi. I think it's Yardi Breeze or Yardi for property management software. Yeah, that's it to my knowledge. I've never even been in our property management software. My assistant handles all that. I don't really know too much about it. So we have, once we took property management back in-house, which was back in this before she came on board, 16 maybe, something like that. And of course, I would say shortly after that time frame is when I started kind of identifying wanting to get into higher quality homes for single family rentals. So our property management, the quality of homes we do, the quality of tenants we attract, it's all changed so drastically that I'd looking back, we just got rid of our last Class C rental just this last month. And even just going back into that neighborhood and rehabbing that house again and everything, I'm thinking, can't even hardly believe I used to do these rentals. So it's one thing I think about for the next 5-10 years, that I hope that I'm saying the same thing then. I hope that I'm saying the same thing, saying, I can't believe I used to mess around with these houses. Something to that degree, like the evolution of growth. So I hope that I'm saying something similar.
That's a powerful thought to even have that foresight to go, what is it that I'm going to be thinking a decade from now?
Mm-hmm.
And am I on a path of evolution?
I think, I think that I will still know that. I mean, they're very good quality homes, so I'm never going to think, well, these are ugly little houses. But I'm sure, I hope that I'm at least thinking, I was thinking so small, right? Mm-hmm. Something to that level.
What is it that you do, or what is it you surround yourself with? How do you challenge yourself to think bigger?
Man, I'm kind of a hermit anymore. I don't participate in a whole lot. I don't go to many seminars or masterminds or anything anymore. Part of it for me is just, having my vision of, and I'm very big into vision. Not that I necessarily visualize a lot. I don't spend a lot of 10 minutes, 20 minutes visualizing, but it's just that I'm always thinking about it. I mean, it never, ever leaves my thought. If anything, I'm thinking about it along with thinking about something else, but it'll never leave my train of thought of what I want. And I don't, when I'm thinking about my goals, my vision, it's usually just about 5 years out, because I've just realized that life just changes way too much after that time frame, right? There's no way that if I make a 10-year plan that it's gonna come true, right? I mean, it doesn't mean things might not be even better. It's just the path is going to be so drastically different than what I predicted. So, but 5 years, in even like 3 years can probably be pretty realistic, right? And 1 year is almost dead on. So I just spent a lot of time thinking about that. And I purposely, I guess, in a way, avoid being exposed to too many people just because I feel like it's just so much noise. Kind of like we talked about earlier. It's just so much noise, and I find it's distracting. And if I'm paying attention to, watching, reading, everything I can get my hands and eyes on, all it's going to do is tempt me to pull away from what I'm already doing. So I feel like I've, like the path I'm on, I'm not going to be a billionaire, and I know that, and that's okay. That's not in my, I'm not probably going to build some gigantic company. It's not in my plan. I don't want to, but what I am doing in my path is going to work for my current vision.
That's one of the things I deeply respect about you is your ability to set up years and years and years, because you've got the secret sauce. There's no other recipe that you need.
Yeah.
We talked about this. You just need to do the same thing and just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Just do more of it and just let time do its thing in real estate, and you will be handsomely rewarded.
Well, and here's something I look at is I know without question that all the different asset classes work, right? I could go into mobile homes, I could go into apartment buildings, I could go into commercial, I could do any of it and probably be successful. But all of it is going to have a learning curve to it. So as soon as I take my foot off the pedal of what I'm currently doing and say, well, I'm going to start learning multifamily, my single family business is going to suffer to some level. And I'm not going to be great at multifamily for at least probably 10 years. I've got 15 years in the single family. I'm only going to get better at it. I've hit a level of mastery, but I mean, that mastery can still improve. Whereas if I look at start doing multifamily or something, which I might in the future, but whenever that time comes, I'm probably going to be done with single family, right? Something like that. But I can't take the time away from what I'm doing to put into something else, because I'm going to go from doing something at a level of mastery to doing something as a level of beginner. There's no way I'm going to be successful at it, as successful.
If you're a house flipper, execute the burst strategy or do double closings and are in need of money, Little Guy Loans is your go-to lender here in the Des Moines area. Time is money. Loan approvals in 24 hours. Closings in 5 days. Little Guy Loans was founded by Neil Timmins, an investor just like you. Since he has been in over 10,000 homes in Des Moines, there's never an appraisal. Houses, multifamily, and commercial property loans up to $1 million. Check out www.littleguyloans.com.
What has changed? Since we had you on the show maybe a year ago or so, a little longer than that. What has changed, and what changes are you seeing in the general market environment, and have you made any business decisions as a result of that?
Well, the market is definitely slowing down. So we started the year hot, bought a lot of houses in January, and as from a volume standpoint, I don't really feel like it's changed. We've been buying pretty consistently throughout the year. And coming off of last year, I don't recall last year really feeling that soft. It just kind of felt fairly average. And then coming into this year, we've purchased. I really don't hardly ever have any bad buys, but this year, just kind of feeling like it was maybe going to be a repeat of last year or so. A couple of the purchases I've made have shown themselves to not be good buys. So that has proved that, okay, I need to be a little bit more careful about running my numbers, about making offers, not allowing the market to potentially correct my mistakes, but I've got to just make sure I don't make them, for lack of better words. So it's just, being careful, essentially what that comes down to. Yes, the market has slowed down. So we've done a lot of fixing and flipping this year, not necessarily full remodels, full flips. Some of them have been, but a lot of wholesales we end up putting more work into them than what we expected. Time on the market, stuff didn't sell. We end up spending a lot of money on holding costs. And then eventually you just kind of come down to the realization that we need to revert back to doing more wholesaling again. Why? Because the investor, our cash buyers, they're cash, and it's essentially one day close type thing. It's just so much more certainty, even if maybe we're making a little bit less profit. It's such a more consistent certainty type based business model, as opposed to putting in the market, hoping it's going to sell, never knowing when we're going to get an offer, multiple showings, like all that stuff happening. And it reminded me, how long have you been doing the business?
Well, I started as a realtor 21 years ago.
Yeah. So, I mean, I started 2010, right? So 2010 was at the bottom of the market. So from 2010 to about 2014-ish, 15-ish, market was pretty soft. Certainly those first few years, right? So it take all the stuff, a lot of the things I'm seeing now, I haven't hardly seen since then. So stuff like lots of showings and not getting any offers. We're always putting some stuff on the market, what I feel like is with some value. Either we've got some equity left in it, it's a really nice remodel, something like that. I'm like, why are we not getting offers? Like, we're getting all the showings, and I haven't dealt with that in a decade, right? A decade plus. And then on top of that, buyers just asking for so much more and closing costs and inspection requests and all that kind of stuff. That stuff, man, that fires me up. I get so, I try, 15 years in this business, I try to be just very level-headed anymore. I try not to get upset, but man, that kind of stuff just fires me up. But again, I'm seeing it as a repeat from almost 15 years ago. I haven't seen it since then. So that tells me, are we fully in a recession? I don't know, but its market's certainly softer than it was a few years ago.
I've seen the exact same thing. I'm with you on the buyer's inspection list.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking, what kind of list am I going to get?
Oh, yeah.
They send them over. I'll ask them, is this a Santa Claus list again?
Yeah.
Nothing but a list of wishes.
You just feel like, as the investor, you feel like you're just getting abused over and over again. It's like, because you're the one that's just giving and giving and giving. At least that's how I feel. Like, I feel like everybody's just trying to take their piece, and it's like, man, like and that's, again, is why I like wholesaling so much. I keep going back to that, but I don't feel like that's ever in the transaction of a wholesale. Right? Like, nope. me and an investor, you agree to buy at this price, I agree to sell this price, we're done. Thank you. Move on, and no matter what they decide to do with it, the transaction's over, versus, if the realtor wants their piece, the lender wants their piece, the buyer wants all their inspections, they want closing costs paid, they want a home warranty. And you look at all the fees by the time the thing is done, like, goodness, it was not worth it. Yeah.
Versus a wholesale buyer, when you get done, the transaction's over, have it. The next question they ask you is, what else do you have to sell them?
Exactly.
They want another.
Yeah. Do you have another one? So, we just sold just this month, I think once, a couple times this month, a couple times last month, we sold a couple to 2 to 3 different buyers. That's six houses sold, and each of those conversations didn't take longer than 30 minutes. Right. So yeah, I love wholesaling. I probably always will. One, because I know it. So I grew up here, grew up on the south side, Des Moines. I know it. I just feel like Des Moines has so much balance, so much to offer. We have competition, but not an outrageous amount of competition. We have good, steady growth. We have jobs constantly pouring in, or new companies pouring in. We have, a lot of people coming in from other markets. So when I look at it from 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, like, there's just no slowing it down. Like, I feel like it's only going to get better. It's going to get a little more crowded, but it's going to get better.
Ready for the final question? What is the one thing that keeps you up at night?
I sleep pretty well these days. I don't let too much bother me. I would say, like right now, kind of have this conversation, but anytime you have a business where you start to have more moving parts, you have a lot of money moving around, that type of thing, is just, can you keep it all going? And I don't ever want to get to a place where, I can't pay somebody, I can't take care of my contractors, whatever it is, right? And so and it's not that I lose sleep on it, but I think about that of just, sometimes it's a hustle just to keep everybody paid. And so sometimes I have those questions of, do I need to slow down? Do I need to go in more cash savings, so I can finally have some peace, have some rest, that type of thing. But I know that's also kind of just not who I am. It's not, I'm in a season of growth. I'm in a season of building, will be for quite some time. But I also know that it all works out. I've been through enough hardships in business to where it, like, if you're willing to get out there and grind and sell, you're always going to be okay, so it always ends up working out.
What's one question I did not ask that I should have asked?
You asked this question. I knew you were going to ask this question again. I was trying to think of what would it be. I had an answer for it, but now I can't remember what it was. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have an answer for you, unfortunately. Yeah, these days you just find my just personal on Facebook, Mark Lane. So I've used to have more social media presence out there and coaching and all that, but just kind of put it on the back burner for now. So yeah, just connect with me on Facebook.
I'll tell you what, anybody out there who's listening should connect with you. What I found is there's plenty of room. There's always competition no matter what. And you share a whole bunch of things. I think some of that is let's elevate the crowd of who's around. It'd be better if everyone improved at all times. It does nothing but get you better, a person who has focused and mastered a craft.
And I think it's just something I was just thinking about. I think it was just last night, that what I would really love is, like, I feel like the meetups, the, social networking, all that kind of stuff, it's all fairly artificial, right? Like, people aren't out there really trying to build connections for the most part. And I'm not either. So I'm certainly not pointing the finger at anybody saying they're doing it wrong. But like, what I would want these days is for people that really want some change in their lives and their businesses and connect, and either allow myself or allow them to ask, like, how can I really like help you in your business? Because I mean, if I had realtors, buyers, investors, whatever, that came to me and said, man, I would love to be able to buy a lot of houses from you. What can we do? How can we set that up? I mean, lender, contractors, like the amount of help that I could give them. But the reality is most of them just simply don't want the growth and the change enough.
All right. Well, then I'm reminded of a man, Adam Romano, if I may mention him. Yeah. Did a lot of work for you for a long time on the camera side.
Yeah.
Provided a tremendous. This is from his story to me, right? Provided a tremendous amount of help, and then has gone on to buy, I don't know what the number is, but 100 plus houses over the course of the last handful of years. That is a person. When you mention how do I pour in, how do I want change? That's the person who immediately comes to mind, who was interacted in your life, who sought change and got change.
Yeah. And we still talk, all the time. So, I mean, he's one that I sold a couple houses to last month. Sure. So yeah. And it's, keeping that relationship, sustaining it, and allowing, that friendship / business relationship to flourish for years. And, it's one thing I've looked at. I've had some different buyers that I've worked with over the years, and things happen. And next thing you know, we're not doing business together, or they get too greedy. They start counting what I'm making, whatever it is. And I'm like, man, you've missed out on 15 years, 10 years, whatever it is, of buying properties from me, millions of dollars worth that you missed out on because whatever reason. So yeah, it's simply just the amount of, just like you, right? The amount of things you have your hands into, the exposure to the market. People like us have the ability to really help people, but they have to also be willing to want the help and want the change. Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Thanks for listening. If you're enjoying the show, may I ask a favor of you? Naturally, subscribe so you never miss an episode. But would you rate and leave an honest written review on Apple Podcasts? It does a lot for us here at the show, and I appreciate reading your thoughts. Great guests make for a great show. If you know of another Iowan who would be a great guest, or you yourself have interest in being a guest, well, get on our radar. Visit Investing in Iowa to fill out an application or recommend a guest. And if you want to connect with me one-on-one, go to LegacyImpactInvestors.com. Click on the Invest With Us button in the top right corner, and there you can pick a time for the two of us to get on the calendar and connect. Until next time, keep investing in Iowa.